So just before we start, before I hand over to our guest for today, just a few things for me to mention. Hopefully you all know by now that coursework 1 is due tomorrow. If you don't, figure that out quickly. When you submit, I've had this question quite a lot, when you submit to Gradescope, you should see, if everything's worked properly, your Python file will be there. There'll be something on the right-hand side which says pass tests. If it's in green, it means you passed the one and only test you can see, which is just reading in the file. So you know your program is reading in the file properly. If you don't pass that test, you can quite safely assume the rest have failed, because if you haven't read in the file, you can't do any of the file manipulation afterwards. So when you look on Gradescope, if that's in red and it says it's failed, you might need to go back and change something. So that's kind of that last warning. I've had the question as well as what happens if other files happen to get pulled in, so maybe some of your lab work. It's fine, it doesn't matter. As long as your Python_fundamentals is there, then the test should run. You obviously don't need to submit the text.txt file at all. We obviously have access to that and we're testing with a different one. Anyway, something to check, I've noticed a couple have done this. Your work, when you push it onto Git, should not be in a folder. If your work is in a folder, it gets pulled through onto Gradescope, also in that folder, and that will cause the test to fail. So for some of you, if you've got the red text because your test has failed, check how it's reading your file name, because sometimes it might say coursework1/ and then the Python file, and that's probably because you've uploaded it within a folder of some form. So you just push the file to Git, and then that's what wants to be pulled across. That's all for that. Next week, you'll all be pleased to know, is reading week. So as far as this unit's concerned, there'll be nothing new, no new material. There'll be no lectures, no labs. You get essentially a week off from us. It's a great opportunity to maybe catch up on any material that you've missed. The discussion boards are still there, so if you have questions, read through the discussion board first to check your question hasn't already been answered. Because we've had the same question getting repeated a few times now, it's not too bad. But it'll just save you waiting for me to answer the question, because quite often they've already been there. If it's not been answered, then obviously feel free to post your own. Cool. Before we start, I'm going to hand over to Dickie. At some point, he would like to take a photo, because for his own memories and things. If you don't want to be in the photo, you can obviously, when he gives you a bit of a warning, just duck down, hide your face, whatever you want to do. If you're happy, smile proudly that you're here in Manchester and you're listening to our talk. And I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Gareth. So good morning, everyone. So today I want to present about how to interact with the computer by using only terminal. So first, as you can see, this is the terminal. So if you want to make your terminal looks good and not boring, so first make sure it's transparent. So as you can see, it's transparent. You can see the background, and then also make it blur, a little bit blur. So blur and transparent, so it will be a little bit better. Because usually when I see someone using the terminal, it's quite boring, white. So at least make it black. So if you ever see in the Hollywood movies, you have hackers say interact with the computer by using only keyboards and terminal. So at least make it black. Okay, so. To start this presentation, because we are only using terminal, so I will only use terminal for doing the presentation. So let's do that. So this is it. So what is this about? So first, of course, when you are interact with only using terminal, you will like your keyboard. Okay, so you will love your keyboard. And also, when you are already in love with your keyboard, you will hate the mouse. So this is my propaganda today, so please more using the keyboard and don't use your mouse anymore. Why? Let's see why later. Okay, so I am Diki. So I'm working at Disney. So if you like Disney Plus, you like watching something, streaming, so I work there. So I'm from Indonesia, if you know Indonesia. It's actually in Southeast Asia, one of the biggest country there. Okay, so I also know something about Java and JavaScript. Okay, and if you have any one of you heard about Java programming language? Okay, so do you know why I am better than anyone about Java? Can anyone guess? Okay, I will tell you something about my country. So let's open Google Earth, but Google Earth in terminal. Google Earth, okay? So this is Maps key. I will open it. Hopefully it will open, because last time it didn't open. Okay, so it's quite small. Okay, so first, of course, this is, if you know something about Mercator projections. So if you see Greenland is so ridiculously bigger than it should, okay? So because they try to project the ball, the spherical surface to the 2-dimension of surface, so that's why you will see all those kind of thing. Like usually if you, this is the equator, so the norther you are from the equator or the souther you are from the equator, it will be bigger. So that's why like Greenland is bigger than it should, but it's actually not. So from here you can see Indonesia here, okay? So let's, okay, now this is Indonesia. So that's where I come from. And this island here, okay, this island here, anyone know what this island is called? Okay, what is that called? Yeah, it's the island of Java. So I am Javanese. So that's why I'm better than any one of you if you ever learn Java programming language, okay? And have you ever heard about JavaScript? Okay, so JavaScript. And I will tell you, I know JavaScript better than you because we have Javanese script, okay? So basically, Japanese script is influenced by the Southern Indian influence, but we will talk about it later in the next lecture because now we are talking about theme and terminal. Okay, that's it. Indonesia. Yeah, so that's my GitHub original. My name is DK Original, so that's my GitHub, and I will tell you something about .files later. Okay, so what I'm using. So what is the configuration that I'm using? So first, I'm using Linux. As you know, Linux has different distros, Ubuntu, Fedora. I'm using Arch Linux, okay? And then I also use something called IWM for window manager. I use Rofi. I use X11 called PyCom, but we will talk about it later if we have time. Okay? And then what about the terminal itself? So if you ever use terminal, what terminal do you use if you ever use any? Do you know, like Bash. Bash is not a terminal emulator. Yes, Bash is a shell. But the window that you are using, what is that called? Like usually in Mac OS it's called iTerm. Have anyone used iTerm? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not using Bash now. I'm using Z shell, but they are basically the same. Okay. So now this terminal, I'm using Alacrity. Sorry, not Alacrity, Western, because I've just changed it. But we will talk about it later in more detail. So yes, this is Arch Linux. Minimalistic distro. If you install Ubuntu, after you install, you can start using it right away. But if you are using Arch Linux, after you finish installing, you still have nothing. You still need to install everything, right? For example, to install the window manager, for example, how to connect to the Wi-Fi, you also still need to install everything yourself. So that's Arch Linux. And I don't know why I use it, but I just like it. Okay, that's Arch Linux. The operating system that I use, the name of the distro, and the tiling window manager that I use. Okay, so window manager. So if you know GNOME or KDE, if anyone ever heard about it, GNOME, yes, GNOME or KDE is called a desktop environment. So desktop environment is like a package of applications, okay, including the window manager. Okay, so i3 is like GNOME, but it's only the window manager part of it. Okay, so I will show you here. Let's do a demo. So how to do navigating windows. So as I told you, I never use any mouse. Okay, I want to open a new terminal. So I will open a new window. Boom. So this is a new window, right? And then I will also open another window. So this is another window. And then without a mouse, so now I'm focusing in this window. So how can I come to another window? I can do this. So now I'm just going back and forth between the window. So without any mouse. Okay, so why everything is terminal? Okay, I can actually open anything. For example, browser. Okay, so I will open a browser. So yeah, oops, I will close. I will close everything first. I will close everything. Yep, I will open again. That's the browser. So how to reorder? How to reorder everything? Yeah, so basically I can do interacting with only keyboard. And what I really like about i3 is actually a tiling window manager. So you cannot overlap with each other. So it's tiling by default. Okay, so that's i3. We are not talking anything about i3, so this is more about the terminal, but I'm just showing you like my setting. Okay, so that's i3. Okay, so what about if I am opening a browser again without any mouse? How can I do that? Okay, so let's see. What can I will open, I don't know, maybe detik.com. So detik.com is like news from Indonesia. Okay, so let's see how can we interact without using any mouse. Basically, what I will do is I will install a plugin in Chrome called Vimium. Okay, once you install it, suddenly you can interact by using your keyboard. So for example, I will click a consent, so I will hit F. Okay, when I hit F, I don't know, nothing happened. I don't know why is it. Okay, so I will just click it for now. Okay, so let's see. So now I can just going back and forth. Okay, and the binding, like the key that I press is similar with Vim, okay? I will tell you about Vim later. For example, I'm interested with this called Rumah Pendiri Arema, blah, 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 this one, right? So in Indonesian way, we call it Rumah Pendiri Arema, okay? So let's click it, F, okay? So you will have all of those shortcut, and I will just do that. So now I'm coming there. Okay, so now, for example, I want to search. We have, in the top, we have cari berita, means we can find something. Okay, so I will go there, boom, okay? And then suddenly let's try something about, I don't know, English London, okay? So, yeah, so that's it. Basically, how I interact with browser. Even I can reorder, no, I cannot reorder, so forget it. Okay, so I will close this. I will close this tab. I will reopen it. Okay, I will reopen it. Boom. So yeah, so basically you will have some shortcuts to interact with the browser. Okay, so I will close it. Let's continue again. So later I will tell you something about Vim. So once you know about Vim, so all of other program, not even Vim, will have a similar binding, a similar keyboard pressing. So for example, if I want to open PDF, I will use Zathura. So the way I interact with Zathura will also use Vim binding. Okay? And then maybe you will ask me, am I really mouseless? So to be honest, of course, no. So for example, if I want to draw, if I want to analyze the chart, analyze the price. So if you know, for example, TradingView, right? So TradingView is basically just application to analyze any price, Bitcoin price, whatever. So yeah, so of course you will use mouse, right? You cannot use keyboard for everything. So therefore, I'm still mouseless for some specific things. Okay. So yeah, so why Vim binding? So what is Vim binding? So Vim binding is anyone use keyboard like what is that called? Touch typing? Yeah. So if you know something about touch typing, do you know like what is these two fingers touching with in the home position? So this is F, right? And this is J, right? So this is called a home position when your left finger is touching the F and J. This is your home position. And the way you interact with the keyboard, you will just, everything you can reach from the home position. So the philosophy is this. The way you interact with a computer, your finger must not coming far away from the home position, okay? That's why if you touch a mouse, so mouse is miles away from your home position. You cannot do this, okay? Not even your keypad. So of course, this is a keypad. If you want to press the arrow, you will do this, right? No, you cannot do that. If you want to do everything, you must use your home position, including going down, going up, searching for something. Everything must be doable from home positions. That is Vim binding, and that's what makes it sexy, okay? So yeah, so as I've told you, I use Zathura. Zathura will use Vim binding. I use Vimium, the plugin in Chrome. It will also use Vim binding, okay? Even terminal-based application, Zshell, I can configure it to use Vim binding. Vim Emacs is actually a text editor, also sometimes not using Vim binding, but they also have the plugin. So yeah, so any other programming, any other program, usually they also provide how to interact it using Vim binding. So let's do the demo. Okay. I will open my Vim. Okay. So this is my Vim. Of course, this is not a vanilla Vim. So if you just install your Vim, it won't look like this. You will still do everything else. You must like install some plugins and stuff, right? But let's create a new file. And whatever I will do here is actually not using any plugin. Okay. Okay. So let's try something like, I don't know, variable equal maybe 1 or 0 plus, I don't know, let's call a function maybe this function, okay? So we have parameter 1, parameter 2, right? Parameter 3, parameter 4, okay? What else? Nothing special yet. Okay, so I will copy one line and then paste it. Paste, okay? Paste. What about if I want to paste it, I mean paste it like 5 times. So I will hit 5 and then paste. So 5 times. What about 10 times? Yeah, 10 times, whatever. 100 times, yeah, I can do also 100 times. So this is 100 times. So look at this. We have 120 lines, right? Okay, so but that's too much. Okay, too many. I will undo it. Okay, so now we are using Vim binding. Maybe the next question is this. if I'm using everything from home position, it means, for example, if I want to go to the right, I will press L. But this is a text editor. So if I press L, it will instead put a character there, right? So that's why if you are using Vim, okay, it has many modes. So first, this is called the, we can see the name of the mode, but we cannot see, yeah. So this is called the interactive mode. So we are interacting. So I'm pressing a J, but the cursor is going down, okay? So that's why this is Vim. Okay, so now our first challenge. I want to change param 3 there. So how to do that? Maybe we can just press a bunch of L, like this, L, 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 up until param 3. Of course, it's not an option. It's so inefficient, right? So let me do it in a Vim way, okay? Boom, okay, change it to something else. So that's how you do it in Vim. Okay, what else? Okay, so now let's, this variable, we will rename the variable here to something else, okay? Let's select that. But we have a problem here. I don't want to also select the function, the 0, the param1. I only want to select the variable. Okay, let's do a rectangle select, like that. So this is called a rectangle select. Let's go down. I have another problem now. I forgot to select the topmost, the 2 variable in the top. Okay, so let's do moonwalking. This is called moonwalking, right? So we can just do it here, and then I will just select this again. So now everything is selected. Let's change this to something else, whatever. So now we change it. This is Vim without any plugin. Okay, what else? 0. Let's do something with the 0. Let's do this. Nope. Okay, so now it becomes 1, 2, 3. I will plus that, so now it becomes neater. Nice. What else? I don't know. So what if I want to, for example, let's just something else again. Maybe this is something else, and this is also something else. So now I want to change all something else to, sorry, let's try to change param 3 to something else, right? Not every, but we can just maybe select this. So I will change it to foo. So next, this is foo, and then this is foo, and then this is foo. Yeah, okay, so that's basically how you interact with Vim. Okay, now I will show you something with plugin. So for example, hello, Manchester University. Okay, so I will just make it bigger. Let's delete this one. Okay, let's make something else. This is inside a box. This is inside a box. Okay. Okay, so that's inside the box. So I want to make it in the center. Normally you will do this, right? And then you will do that again. Of course, we will just do this once. Okay. Now we can just do. Oops. Oh, something happened. Okay. Okay. I guess I cannot do that now. Yeah. So just make it that. So that's basically what Vim can do. So let's continue. Okay. Let's continue our presentation. So now, let's go to the shell. So anyone knows what is shell? Shell is like bash, right? So I think you already know how to interact with bash. So I'm not using bash, I'm using that shell. But basically, any bash commands can also like recognizable from that shell. So first, I will tell you something about explorability. So basically, the only problem with the shell, why the GUI is more user-friendly, is because in the shell, you cannot do anything, right? For example, we have Git. Okay, this is Git. So how to use Git? We don't know. But if we have a Git with a UI, with a user interface, we can explore it. We can open the menu. We can see what the menu does. Okay, maybe we can see the icon. So we can basically explore the program. But here we don't know, like Git what? I want to commit. I don't know how to commit, right? So that's actually the problem of the commands. But I will show you something, some tips for make it easier. So for example, now is this. We have several, like, for example, we have done some Gits previously. For example, I want to push our branch to upstream, to the Git server. And it's actually a little bit complex. I forget how to do it, okay? But how can I search it? Search my own history. So first, of course, you can use this Control R Okay, I will show you how we can use control R later. So I have these things called fuzzy search, a very nice fuzzy search. So for example, I will just use push upstream. So this is how you can search your own history by using fuzzy logic. So for example, now we are executing a very cool command. This is a command, okay? And this is a very cool command. We have a param2, and everything. We have this, okay? And then we do these cool things, and yeah, it works, for example. And then 1 year again, you want to execute this again. But you forgot, like, what did I do last time, a year ago? So of course you forgot, right? So the way to do that is, of course, you will use control R. But the problem is you cannot memorize even what is that command param1. What is the keyword? You also forgot your keyword. So that's why to make it easier, just put something like this. This is nothing special. This is just a tips. For example, oh, this is some cool stuff. Okay, maybe cool 1, cool 2, cool 3. Okay. So now 1 year later, if you want to execute it again, I forgot anything about command param1, param2, but I remember about cool 1. So I will just cool 1. Now it's searchable. So you can just run it. So that's just how to memorize everything. Okay. So if you are curious about how to do that control R, so it's actually a plugin called FZF, right? Fuzzy Find, FZF. Okay. I will not demo this. And then now I will do a demo. Terminal Orama. So first, I want to show you something called lolcat. So before I tell you about lolcat, I want to tell you something about cat. Anyone knows about cat? What is it? What is it, cat? Okay, so what is cat?
It displays the outputs of standard inputs.
Yes, that's very true, yeah. So basically, what happened when we are pressing cat? When we are executing a cat, boom. Oh, nothing happened. What's happened? Okay, let's try to interact with the keyboard. Oh, okay, interesting. And then when we are pressing enter, boom. Whatever we are typing in the keyboard, it will be outputted to the standard output. So basically, it takes something from standard input, which is our keyboard, okay? And then when we are pressing enter, it will be outputted to the standard output. A very simple program, cat. Okay, now, what is lolcat, okay? So lolcat is very easy. Cat, but lol, okay? What makes it lol? For example, this, okay? And then you press enter. That's what is lol. It becomes colorful. Right? So it takes anything from standard input, and then the output is colorful. Interesting. Okay, that's lolcat. Okay, so let's see what is C matrix. Oh, interesting. So it looks like a matrix if you see the movie yet. What about if we combine them together? Because lolcat is taking something from standard input, right? So what about if this C matrix, okay, the standard outputs, I will feed it to standard input of the lolcat. So now we have a symmetric lolcat. Nice. Okay. Terminal, yeah, it's basically just some, it doesn't work, but it's okay. And also, so neofetch, so usually neofetch is like, so basically neofetch, it will show you like the configuration of the operating system. Usually they also show the logo, but somehow it didn't show. Okay, and then also I will show you something that is most important for this lecture. The most important. So after this, you can leave. Okay? Every time I create a new session, look at that. That's nice logo over there. Okay? So that's called color script. Okay? So if we call color script, okay, color script, okay? If I call that, okay, minus R, it will show something, okay? So R means repeat, so repeat the last command. So R is repeat the last command. So I will just color script minus R again. It will show different logo. Yeah, it's interesting, but it's not a Pokemon logo, right? That's the problem. Okay, so actually, if you want to show a Pokemon randomly, you use a Pokemon color script, okay? Pokemon color scripts, okay? Just search it in the Google, how to actually install it. After you do this, so look at that. So we have many logo. So that's how so every time I start my sessions, I will run either color script or Pokemon script. How to do that? Because I am using a Z shell. So if you are using bus, you will use bus RC. Because I'm using Z shell, I will use Z shell RC. Okay. How to open Z-cell archive? As usual, I don't know. It's located in some folder somewhere. But what I know is, I have the keyword, edit, ZSR. Okay, so now I can just open this. So I don't need to cd, okay? I can just jump there, and this is my configuration. So basically, this is it. So I'm just calling either, look at this line, either color script -r or Pokemon color script -r. Okay, nice. So yeah, one more. Okay, so if, of course, every one of you do ls. Okay, something happened. Okay, ls. So look at my ls. I have the icon there, right? The Readme has a markdown icon. Okay, so because I'm using LSD, not ls. Or for example, ls -l. Okay, so I have the icon and color. So yeah, so because I'm using LSD. So that's like some of the cool console-based application that makes your terminal nicer. That's not really useful though, right? Okay, so I have lolcats. Okay, so what? I have Pokemon. Okay, so what, right? But now this is actually quite essential for your daily activity. So first, it's fastd. Okay, so fastd, if you want to jump around your file fastly. For example, I want to go to open the folder of Linux source code. I have somewhere, but I don't know where. Okay, so of course we will do this, right? cd, okay, ls, and then cd, blah blah blah, up until you go to the folder. But now you can just jump, and then the name of the keyword, Linux, boom. Okay, so you have several option there. Okay, now I am inside the folder already, so I can open it. Now this is the Linux source code, init main.c. Okay, so this is it. So that's called fastd. It's very essential if you really want to use terminal. And then of course, other than fastd, the second one is fzf, fuzzy finder. So basically, if you call fzf by itself, it doesn't do much. It's only do this. Okay, but you can combine this with something else. For example, basically this is a searcher. You have a bunch of lists, and then you want to filter from those lists. So that's basically what fzf is. So what kind of list? So basically a list from the standard input. So that's why you can combine it with something else. So for example, any one of you ever used AWS? Not yet, maybe? Okay, yeah. So you have an AWS CLI. So you have a bunch of commands. Maybe you want to interact with S3, you want to interact with many thousands of services out there. So after you use AWS, you can hit tab, okay, boom, okay, it will hit the fzf, and now the input is actually the AWS command. So for example, maybe I want to do DynamoDB, something like that. Okay, so now I have DynamoDB. You can tap again. Okay, so maybe I want to create a table. So that's basically fzf. You can combine it with something else. It will become useful. Okay, so fzf. And also Control R. If I hit Control R, we can filter our history. So it's also fzf, right? Zinit, yeah, I will not telling you about that. Now Ranger. So what about File Manager? File Manager, okay? So what do you usually use for File Manager? Okay, so of course it's usually it's a GUI based, always a GUI based. You use your mouse, you click the folder, it will open the folder, right? I'm never using that. I don't even install any File Manager. Right? I don't even install any GUI based File Manager. So now let's open a Ranger F. So this is Ranger. Okay, it's actually built by Python. So let's do our first challenge. Go to a downloads, go to the download folder, copy that, and then go back to here, paste it. Okay, so let's go to the download folder. Okay, so now I am in the download folder. Okay, so let's open the pics. Interestingly, it's also show a GUI. I mean, a picture. Okay. Okay, so I don't know. Let's just copy something. Maybe this one. Okay. Let's copy this to our previous folder. So let's go back. Okay. Let's go back. Too many go back. Okay, but we eventually come back and then just do paste. So yeah. So I never use file manager GUI based, and this is also theme based. Okay. So this is also theme based. For example, if I want to open this folder, I just open this. Okay. So that's called a Ranger. Okay, so now, yeah, so if you ever use curl HTTP, yeah, I think that's it for the useful program. Okay, and then now, so how to actually Okay, so I will introduce you to a concept called a dot files. Okay, a dot files. So basically, what dot files is a folder, and inside the folder you have all of the configuration. So for example, I have that shell configured, right? For example, if I open a new session, it will call the color script. So it's actually a configuration of my Z shell. And then also in my theme, I have several plugins. So actually everything is actually describable from the configuration. So all of those configurations together, I put it in one folder called a dot files. So if you are like a hardcore programmer, so you will proud of your own dot files because every programmer has their own configuration. They have their own flavor, okay, based on which program that you are using. So this is my dot file. So if you want to play around with my setting, you can just open my GitHub there. So dot files, so you can maybe execute it in your own laptop. And then maybe, I told you that this is a Linux, Arch Linux, right? What about if you are using Windows or you are using Mac OS? Can it also work? Yes, it will work, right? Because Vim works everywhere. Because this is a terminal-based application, and terminal runs everywhere in Mac OS, in Linux, even in Windows right now, right? So yeah, it will work everywhere. Okay, so yeah. So in my dot files, I have tmux. Okay, I will tell you what is tmux, but my tmux configuration is tmux.conf. My zshell configuration is zshell.rc. No, z.zshellrc. My neovim is init.lua. Yeah, so that's basically my dot file. Okay, so let's open that. Okay, I will also want to tell you something. So I want to copy that link, http github arenal.files. So I can copy any kind of link from the terminal by using this, Ctrl+F, and then we can see that W, okay? So I hit that W, okay? Now I copy the link. I can just open my browser, okay? Do you know how to open a new tab in browser without using mouse? It's called Ctrl+T, yeah? Okay, Ctrl+T, so that's it, my dot file. So you are welcome to pull it on your own and try something, yeah? So you can see this Pokemon's colorful logo. Okay, so that's it about dot files. Okay, so now we are talking about terminal emulator versus a shell. So yeah, so if you want to know what shell is, so basically in a shell, it doesn't have a window. Okay, it doesn't have a window. But when people say something about terminal emulator, so they are talking about the window. So for example, terminal emulator is like Alacrity. Okay, I'm using Western, okay? But sometimes people use iTerm. iTerm is very popular in Mac OS. GNOME Terminal, URXVT, Terminator, they are all terminal emulators. So for example, I also have Alacrity, so I will open Alacrity now. So this is basically another terminal emulator, okay? Or maybe I have GNOME Terminal. Oh no, I don't have any GNOME Terminal. Okay, what about Terminator? Termite, okay? So Termite is another terminal, so I can open it also. So yeah, so this is all terminal emulator. But this is the Z shell, right? Terminal emulator is the window, but actually, the shell we are interacting with is Z shell or Bash or maybe fish shell. Okay, so you need to understand the difference. Okay, so that's terminal emulator versus the shell. Okay, so before this, can anyone tell me, have anyone ever used C or C++? Okay, so how internally, for example, printf works, like in a very simple word. Printf hello, so what actually it does? Okay, so maybe you might think, maybe at some point it will interact with a video graphic something because it actually prints something in the screen, right? So maybe at some point it will interact with your video or something. Or not maybe. Anyone knows the answer? So what is the lowest level of printf do? Okay, what it?
It just goes to standard output.
Yeah, basically it only writes to the standard output. That's it. It doesn't have anything to do with displaying anything in the terminal. And then how it got displayed then? How? Because the terminal emulator, so this is terminal emulator and then the Z shell and then your Hello World application, okay? So basically your Hello World application will put to the standard output and somehow the terminal emulator is listened to your standard output, okay? So that's why your terminal emulator will actually print your hello, okay? Not your Z shell, not your Hello World, okay? That's it. Okay, so that's how, hopefully you understand the difference between terminal emulator and the shell, okay? I'm using terminal multiplexer. Basically, terminal multiplexer is like this is one terminal, so I can just slice it to become two. This is one window, but it is two, yeah. But yeah, I can also, if I'm not using this, I can also just create another terminal window. I can also do that, but yeah. But usually I use Tmux, terminal multiplexer. Okay, so that's terminal multiplexer. I think I will just go next, and then also head stop. Okay, so basically, any one of you learned something about operating system yet? Do you know what is process, what is threads? Okay, so basically in Linux we have this command called ps. So ps will list all of the running program or a process. Okay, so basically head stop is the interactive version of it. So the interactive version of it. So you can see this, and we are using G and K for going up and down. So basically, as we can see, this is all of the running process in my laptop now. Okay, and then if you know something about Linux, the first process that is created is called an init process, right? So that's why init, and then it spawn another process and spawn another process. Okay, so this is basically head stop. Okay. Not really interesting. So now let's talk about Vim. Now it's our core. So what is Vim basically? So first, something called V. So first it's created in 1976, so very long time ago, by someone called Bill Joy. So he's from BSD, Berkeley. So he's the one who created the free BSD. So he created V. And also, if you know something about Emacs, so Emacs is another editor created by another living legend. So our living legend for Vim is Bill Joy. So he's a living legend. He's still alive now. And also, Emacs is another living legend. So he created Emacs. His name is Richard Stallman, the one who created GNU. So these both, VI versus Emacs, they always in war, like in a holy war, like our editor is better and then your editor sucks. So they are always in a constant war. And then also that's VI. And somehow, this guy called Bram Molnar from MIT, so he created Vim. So Vim is VI improved. So now it's Vim. And then someone in 2014 created Neo Vim. So actually the Vim that I'm using is Neo Vim, not Vim, right? But it's basically just the same. Okay. I think every one of you ever used VI before, Vim or VI. Have you? Okay. Or maybe it's, if you are not really want to use it, I think some one of you ever interact with also, because usually when you are using Git, and then you are using Git commit without using -m, when you Git commit and you press enter, usually somehow Vim will pop up, and you don't know how to quit, right? Because you know Vim, everything is keyboard, and then you don't even know how to quit. So that's how usually our first interaction with Vim. So yeah, so this is Neo Vim, okay? Of course, if you install Neo Vim without any plugins, it won't be any good, okay? So after you install Neo Vim, you should still do something else. Okay, and then I will tell you something about the LSP, because I want to demo about programming in Vim, okay? But before we actually can do any kind of real-world programming, you need to have some kind of like interactivity, like go to the definitions, maybe you want to debug, okay? So you need this LSP and dub server. Okay, so this is dub and this is LSP. So basically what LSP is it's actually a standalone server. This is your editor, okay? This is your editor and this is your server. And then when you press something, for example, your cursor is in the function name, sorry, not in the function name, but in some kind of function, and you want to go to where this function is defined. So you will call go to definition, and basically your editor will call this server, and then the server will tell the editor like the exact address, and then the editor will jump to there, right? So the LSP creator and the Vim is actually created by separate programmer. So LSP, it doesn't matter what editor you are using. So for example, there is an LSP for example, Python. Someone creates an LSP for Python. Okay, so no matter which editor you are using, maybe Visual Studio Code, okay? Visual Studio Code will connect to the same LSP server, which is the Python LSP server, and still can do the go to definition, okay? And then also, if I'm using Vim, I can also connect to the same LSP server. So basically, LSP and the text editor are two separate things. But it can make our programming experience easier. Okay, so this is in Vim, my shortcut. If I want to go to definition, I will press ZD, okay? If I want to go to a symbol name, a variable name, I will just press a space, LS, something like that, okay? So let's do that. So for example, let's go to Linux. Linux source code. Why we are going to Linux source code? Okay. Anyone can guess how many lines of code for Linux kernel source code? How many lines of code? 3,000? Yeah. 3,000? No, no. We are talking about kernel. What's that? A billion? No, no, no. Still under. Yeah. So it's actually maybe like 30 million, right? But how can I know, right? So let's see. Toke. So Toke, we can analyze it. And we can see that. So look at this. C. C is like lines. This is the lines, right? So C is like what is this? 22 million C code, maybe some C++, some assembly, okay? Okay, so if you know something about assembly, I think you already learned something about assembly, right? Which assembly have you learned? ARM, right? Have you? I think you already learned about ARM or something. Okay, so of course Linux works in all of the CPU, right? So in Linux we have ARM assembly, we have x86 assembly, we have Spark assembly, right? Because it can be cross-compiled to those particular CPU. So yeah, so that's why we have so many assembly also, like 300, I don't know, like, yeah, 300,000 lines of assembly code. Okay, so let's open it, okay? So let's open the main.c, okay? So this is it. So this is Linux source code. For example, I want to go to this header file, okay? So I will open this. I will go to definition. I want to go to this particular file, gd. So I'm going this. I'm going to this file. Let's see. Okay, so for example, this is strlen.